Welcome to All the Way Alive. This is a space for the real, the raw, the unfiltered experience of being human. I'm Carolyn, and I'm most definitely not here as a teacher or an expert. I am a fellow traveler fumbling my way through the mess and the magic of life with you. This isn't the bullshit of self-help. It's not about becoming better or fixing anything. This is about truth. It's about risk. It's about letting yourself be seen all the way through. It's about the initiations we go through in love, the ache of purpose, the wild vision, the grief, the ecstasy, the fear, all of it. Here we explore what it means to be all the way alive, to feel, to fall, to fuck it up, to try again, to listen to your body, to mine your own wisdom. There's no finish line, just this moment, just this breath, just this one wild, precious life. Let's go there. Welcome to this week's podcast episode. So this one's a little bit different than what I imagined it to be. I was looking at this concept of abundance, and I was like, okay, how can we speak about it? And how I've spoken about it in the past is abundance being the circulation of energy of giving and receiving. So that's kind of like the 1.0 version of my understanding of abundance. But I was listening to something recently, and it's like it downloaded all of this information into my system that I'd like to share with you. And it has to do with this energy of wanting or manifesting or seeking to find. So basically anything that we are wanting to create. And that energy is essentially an expression of lack. Now, bear with me for a moment, because I know I just said abundance is like the energy of giving and receiving, which, yes, like to some extent, but I would actually argue, as I'm coming to understand it, that abundance is our nature, right? Like everything within us is abundant. Life is abundant. We naturally give and receive. And really, the lack of abundance or the need for seeking abundance is simply a misidentification. Okay, so let's dig into that. I genuinely believe it's because so much of the way that we've been taught to live is rooted in this really subtle assumption that something is missing, right? That something is not there that we are meant to have or that we want to have. That we need to become more, that we need to do more, that we need to create more, that we need to achieve more. And with that more, then we'll finally arrive, right? Like then we'll soften. It's like this whole bullshit concept of hurry up and relax. Like that doesn't make sense, right? So when we arrive, the idea is then we'll feel abundant. Then we'll feel fulfilled. Then we'll feel like enough. Then we'll feel love. But what if that orientation is just slightly off? Now, I've had this plan to record a series of podcast episodes specifically about business and founders and this whole lack and hustle mentality. And I didn't realize that this is going to fit in this way. So I'm excited about it. I'm happy about like how this is starting to unfold and reveal itself, because I do actually see this a lot with founders. Even when we look at, say, creating a value proposition, or, what is it that I'm creating? Who am I creating it for? Why would they want it? Oftentimes what we're looking for is profits, right? We're looking for that, but then we mask it under this idea or this belief that it's not already ours. And I don't mean that in a greed or egocentric way, but rather as a like, I'm separate from it. I need to get it. I need to create it. I won't be okay without it, right? There's this constant movement towards something, more income, more success, more growth, something. Even in the conscious business space, it just becomes a little bit more refined, right? Like it's like my idea of calling abundance this circuit of giving and receiving. Sure, it might be a more refined idea of abundance, but it's still missing the mark a little bit. So in that conscious space of business, again, it becomes a bit more refined. So maybe a little bit more alignment, maybe a bit more embodiment, maybe a bit more expansion, right? We've got this pretty language that we like to use. But underneath it all, there is this quiet belief that I'm not quite there yet, that I need to become the version of me who has this. And so we stay in doing. We continue to hustle. Even if it's wrapped up in some sort of pretty spiritual, conscious business owners bullshit, we're still in that energy of doing. And I don't mean that we don't ever go into that experience and expression of action. When I'm speaking about doing, it's this pushing energy, this belief that there isn't already what I desire, right? That it's not a co-creation with divine that exists within us. It's something that is outside of me, and so therefore I must get it or bring it to me. And it's in this energy of doing, we basically are constantly trying, we're constantly fixing, we're constantly optimizing, strategizing, whatever it is. Even when we say that we want freedom, we're still relating to life through effort. So even in this concept of architecting freedom, there's this subtle expression of, well, then it means that I'm not free. Like, how do I actually create that? How do I build it? Which is confronting as I'm exploring this, but at the same time, that's the whole reason for me doing this. Is not just so that I can build something pretty, that maybe we'll slap a Band-Aid on whatever it is that we're struggling with or that we're navigating, but getting to the true heart of it. So my path in particular, even though I've been a business owner for my entire adult life, what's really at the heart of everything is this deep experience and expression of vision, of ideation, of creation. And when I'm quiet, when I'm not pushing, when I'm not in the doing energy, I feel it. And it's like, I can tap into it right now. And so rather than like, what does freedom look like? What does freedom do? When I tap into the energy of what does freedom feel like, I can experience it in my body as this like expansion, this opening that is already inside of me. I don't need to seek outside of me to find it, to get it. And so, we'll keep going with that freedom analogy. So imagine bringing this into the understanding and experience of business. It's not so much about getting back to it or creating it. It's removing all of the blocks to it. It's removing all of the parts of us that are not that. And that goes the same for your business. We remove all of the parts that are not that. And we look at it in a different way. And again, I'm not doing this for income. This is not abundance for the sake of just money. Like, money is a part of it. Money is an aspect of the whole. but it's not what's at the heart of it. It's not what the vision is truly asking for. It's simply a byproduct of that. And yeah, no matter what we do, like, the beautiful thing about entrepreneurs is that we can do almost anything and be successful. We're very, very adaptable people by nature, because you have to be a little bit crazy to start a business. You have to be a little bit courageous. You have to step outside of the box and actually put yourself out there. So I would argue that it's not about the money. That's not the reason why we start a business. Sure, maybe that's at the heart of what we think we want, but below that, below even that desire, if you are a purpose-driven individual, if you know that there's a vision inside of you that's seeking to be expressed, then there's something much deeper to that. And that deeper part is living inside of the fullest expression of freedom. It's not outside of you. It's not somewhere we need to get to. It's not something we need to engineer or architect. It's built in. And so even this concept of architecting or designing is really about removing the blocks to it. Hey, I want to pause here for a moment, because if you're listening to this and something in you is like, yes, this is exactly how I feel, I want you to know that you don't have to figure it out on your own. I'm opening a small live container called Freedom by Design. It's an 8-week experience for founders who are heart-led and ready to step out of the way they've been building and start designing their business in a way that actually supports their life. We go into everything we've been talking about here, but deeper. Your vision, what freedom actually means to you, and then how to structure your business so that it can hold that. We meet live each week, and there's space for real conversation, real reflection, and actual redesign. So it's not all mental, it's not all being in that space of heart. We're actually redesigning the business. And each person also gets a one-to-one session with me. So you're not just sitting in ideas, you're actually shaping something that works for your life. We start April 20th. It's a small group, intentionally, because this work is personal. So if this is speaking to you, you can find all the details on my website. The link will be below in the show notes. And if you feel that pull, I'd love to have you inside. Yeah, I was contemplating this, and in the thing that I was listening to, they're talking about Michelangelo and the sculpture of David. And somebody asked him, how did you do this? Like, how did you come up with this? How did you make this beautiful piece of art? And he responded by saying, I didn't make it. I just removed everything that wasn't it. So how beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? Like, that to me is at the heart of all of this. So we can turn this on its head then. So what if abundance isn't something that you create or build or architect or design? What if it's something that you are already? And what if the only thing that's really in the way, remember removing those pieces, is the belief that you're not, is the belief that you're not abundant? Not as an affirmation, not as something to convince yourself of, but something that you can actually see and feel. There's this expression of be, do, and have in self-help, personal development world. And I would argue it goes even deeper than that. It's feel, be, and then align. The doing and the having is a natural byproduct. I actually don't believe that we need to push into those spaces. And the having, even that word indicates that at one point it was separate from us. So I get the intent of it, and I do think it's a really beautiful concept, but I genuinely feel like it's deeper than that. So feel, be, align. So there's this interesting dynamic that I believe is happening here, and it's to do with who we are underneath, and that's the version of you that's being shaped by thought, which is why we can't separate doing from being. We can't separate strategy in business from our belief patterns and who we are as individuals. It's just not possible. So there's these parts of us that have been conditioned by experiences and beliefs, and we start to project into the future based on those experiences and those beliefs. And that version of you has learned things like, I need to work really hard for my worth. I need to prove myself. I need to create abundance. And when we identify with that part, it feels like lack is real. But what if that's just a thought being believed? So I went on to this really beautiful course called the 9-Day School for the Work with Byron Katie. It completely changed my life and changes how I look at everything. I question my beliefs all of the time now. And there's a question from Byron Katie's work that I love. It's really incredibly simple. So it's, who would I be without that thought? And so I want to invite you to actually feel into this for a moment. Not intellectually, but actually in your body. So who would you be? Who would you be without the thought that you need to be abundant? Who would you be without the thought that you need to be abundant? So just pause for a moment. Let yourself imagine that as a possibility. Use your imagination. Return to being a kid and just imagine it. Maybe it doesn't seem real or possible right now, but imagine it for one moment. What if you didn't have that thought? What if it simply couldn't exist in this moment? Give yourself a little bit of breathing room and feel that. So no story about what's missing. No pressure to get somewhere. Who are you right now without that thought? And from that space, notice the somatic experience inside of your body. What does it feel like? Does it feel like freedom? Does it feel like openness? There's usually something that happens in this space of possibility. Usually there's a softening, kind of opening that happens in the body, and maybe even a sense that nothing is missing, that there's nowhere to be, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. So it's almost like imagining there's no need for abundance is actually the experience of abundance. I think that's just such a funny cosmic joke. It's just what's here in this moment when the thought drops, right? When the belief leaves. And in that moment, there could even be laughter. Like there could be this subtle realization, or maybe it's kind of like a, 2x4 hitting you upside the head that's like, what the fuck have I been doing pushing for this thing that is already here? Like, oh, without the thought, that's who I am already. And this is the paradox. We spend so much time trying to be abundant while holding on to the very thoughts that create the experience of lack. So hear that. We spend so much time trying to be abundant. And at the same time, we're holding on to these thoughts that create the experience of lack, that create the experience of non-abundance. So the work here isn't really about adding anything. It's not about becoming more. It's about seeing things clearly. taking enough space, dropping the hustle for one moment, and imagining who I would be without all of this striving, all of this doing. Seeing the thoughts clearly that say, I'm not there yet, I need to be more, I need to do more, I need to fix something, and then gently questioning them. And this is where compassion comes in. It's necessary and important because we don't override this part of us. We're here to be human, right? This is an experience of time and space. We've come to be human. We don't need to be transcending these things all of the time. So we don't need to force ourselves into a new belief. And we don't shame the parts of us that feel lack. Of course that part exists. That's part of it. It was learned. It was reinforced. It was rewarded. It's probably part of what made you a business owner in the first place. So we meet it gently. We see it. And then we begin to loosen our identification with it. And this connects so deeply with business because so much of how we build comes from that same place. If I just create more, then I'll feel safe. If I just hit this number, then I'll feel free. If I just grow this, then I'll finally arrive. And what I've seen in my own life and in the founders I work with is that you can actually build something really successful and still feel like something is missing. Because the structure was built around this belief in lack, not from truth. So maybe the path isn't about chasing abundance, and I highly suggest or believe that it isn't. Maybe it's about remembering what's already here and gently seeing the thoughts that say otherwise. Because when those thoughts soften, when you're looking for suddenly disappears, it's revealed, right? And this is actually a deeper layer of the work that I'm exploring inside the program Freedom by Design. Now, I don't even know if I should be calling it that, but you get the gist. Freedom by remembering might be a little bit more apropos. But not just how to build a business that creates freedom, but a business that remembers it, a founder that remembers it. How to relate to yourself and your life from a place that's already whole, where business becomes an expression, not a way to prove your worth. You're not lacking abundance. You are abundance. And sometimes it's just about remembering. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and exploring this. I just appreciate having a place to express, to be honest, and connecting with you in this way. It's just a unique way that I love to do it. If you've enjoyed this, wherever you listen to your podcasts, please do give it a rating and a review. It's very helpful for me and for continuing to create this. And do check out Freedom by Design if you're interested. Sending much love and many blessings.